Welcome to The Switch, not another podcast. The Switch is a collaboration between Baseload Capital, DNB, and Energy Disruptors, aiming to accelerate the green transition. We want our podcast to be a central hub for knowledge exchange within the fields of renewables and green transition. Hosted by Kristina Hagström-Ilevska and produced by Emil and Jacob.
What is green tech? Emil!
I don't know. I actually don't know.
That's good, because we have an excellent opportunity to ask that question, because we're going to have the green tech queen here today.
I'm curious to know about... She has a list of green tech companies, but how does she decide which companies that should be on it?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that there are many companies out there now who should take out their notebooks and start making notes, because this woman knows how to invest. Let's look into who she is and what she does.
Her goal is to make a difference in this world, but also to inspire others to take a stand in the important questions about environmental sustainability. By doing that, she invests in companies with different kinds of technologies that contributes to climate-smart society. She feels strongly about equality, motivation, and letting the brain and the heart work together as a team. But does she really think everyone out there has the capability of doing just that? In today's episode, you will find out about her journey to success, her incredible work with Sweden Sustaintech Venture Day, and her encouragement to all future entrepreneurs out there. Let's give a warm Switch welcome to the initiator, the founder, the investor, and the green tech queen of Sweden, Boel Swartling.
The first time I spoke to this person who is a guest today, she said something that stuck in my head. She said, if I have money and invest them, I can do a small difference. But if I have other people's money and invest them in good things, we can make a huge difference. And these are one of the things that I would like to talk with Boel about. And you've already got the introduction today. So I'm super happy to have you here on board with us at The Switch. Boel, welcome.
Thank you very much. I'm honored to be here.
No, we are honored. So we are at DNB and we have our amazing team. Are you ready, guys?
Yes.
Whoop, whoop. Yes. We have so many. We have already prepped some questions that we are really curious about. And it's been very interesting. But you have made a great impact on the Swedish tech society, or green tech society, I would say. And if we just get started there, you started something called Sweden Sustaintech Venture Day. And I would like you to tell more about it, but I would like also to know, how did you get there? Because this is, if we go back to the quote, you had possibility to do things on your own, and then you decided to do something bigger. How did you get there with Sweden Sustaintech? What's your story?
Well, I started investing a little bit into sustainability quite broadly, which means for me integration, equality, and also green tech. And you know, when you invest in startups, it's ups and downs, and you don't always know if the companies are going to make it. And I didn't invest very large amounts, so I had my moments of doubt when I was thinking, you know, how much difference am I actually making? Am I making any difference at all?
Wait, can I ask you, where did that thought come from? Because it's not every person that actually wants to make a difference. Where does that drive come from with you?
I don't know. I'm worried about our future, and I think that, you know, I don't have a great ambition of making a personal impact on a big scale, but of course I want to work on good things. You know, it's a difference when you work. It's really a difference if you work, have a good time, and you know that what you do is actually leading to good change. That gives satisfaction, happiness, at least for me. So I didn't work with direct investments at all, and I got a lot of proposals from different places. And finally, I actually started investing because I just got some really, really great companies, applying. And then I actually said to myself, well, actually, if I start investing in good things, if I lose the money, at least I know it would have been for a good cause. And I can work with these companies and actually create, positive impact in areas that I feel are important. And I feel that equality is extremely important. I feel that integration is extremely important. And of course, green tech for the future of us and our children is extremely important.
I think it's quite interesting what you're saying here, because you take a risk, but you're overcoming that risk because you think it's a good cause.
Yeah.
I think that this is actually something that is very unique in certain people. I think that it's one of the things that I admire with you, Boel, very much.
Yeah.
Because people call you angel investor, people call you Sustaintech queen, green tech queen. I mean, you have a lot of names here. So how has this trip been? Because I don't think it started that easy in the beginning.
No, actually, I had no plan at all. It just started with me wanting to sort of do something good with the small investments that I made. And as I said, I had, along the way, I had my doubts what kind of difference that I was actually making. And I also noticed working with these companies that it was an extremely underfinanced sector. I started investing in like 2010, 2011, and of course the economy was in a bad state at that time, and that also had a huge impact on venture capital, which basically meant that, if the general tech community has a problem, well, then green tech has a huge problem, because a lot of green tech is industrial, and industrial investment is underfinanced, grossly underfinanced, not only in Sweden, but in Europe in general. So I just noticed that a lot of companies had a huge problem finding any kind of venture capital. And I started talking to Sting. Sting used to have a... Sting, Stockholm Innovation and Growth, which is I think it is the largest incubator in Sweden. And they used to have a capital market day for green tech called the Stockholm Green Tech Venture Day, I think. And they actually stopped with that sometime in 2012, 2013. And because actually it was really hard to get investors' interest in the sector. And
the interest was not there at all?
No, at all. Just after the financial crisis of 2009, and on, went on for 3-4 years, I think green tech was actually at the bottom level in terms of investment at all, because a lot of large green tech companies had actually gone on the stock market in 2006, 2008. And when there was a lot of good ideas, good business ideas and good companies, but they were too early. The market just wasn't there, and the capital just wasn't there. So many investors actually burned themselves in these cases.
Meaning that they lost a lot of money?
They lost a lot of money, and meaning that it actually made a very negative impact on the sector in terms of finding risk capital later on.
I can imagine, because investing money has a lot to do about trust, and if you get burned a couple of times, you're moving away from that sector.
Of course. And also it was, some of them were quite public failures, which actually meant that there was a rumor around that, green tech was really difficult, and you wouldn't make any money. It was tough, and it was, because actually I would say in many cases the markets just weren't there. But I started talking to Sting and asked them if they could restart this capital market day, because I thought that, it's really a problem for many of the good business ideas and cases that I see, and they need to find finance. But Sting just didn't have the resources at that time, and I went on talking to them for, I think, 3 years. And finally they said to me that, yes, we can restart the capital market day, but we don't have anyone to do the job. So if you want to restart it, we would ask you to be the project leader, because we just don't have the resources. And I said, well, fine. If you can help me to to finance the event, or actually to find sponsors. And I can invoice, and you provide the structure. Well, then I can.
I love how you go like, I've been struggling for 3 years, and you get the question, you're like, well, yeah, I'll do that. You sound so cool about it, but it must have been a struggle anyway, because you had your heart in it.
Yeah, but at the same time, and I got so surprised when I got the question, because it was never in my mind that was something that I would do.
No.
I'm not really an event person. I'm not the last minute kind of person, and events is very much, you have to be very creative and so it doesn't really play fantastically with my personality. I tend to get very nervous.
Okay.
But when things are not solved and planned, blah blah blah. So maybe it wasn't really my dream task in terms of what the job actually meant, but in terms of the meaning that and the impact that it could make, it was an absolute dream. Because that was where I could make the statement true. I could actually gather, as many investors as I could possibly find to present the best of Swedish green tech and Swedish green tech companies too, and try to make them meet and try to channel as much money as possible to funding Swedish green tech innovation.
It's an amazing trip you have done, and I'm so humbled by your resilience in doing this in the end. But what I would like to talk to you about is a bit, before we go into like what Sweden Sustaintech Venture Day actually is and what you're doing, we've been mentioning this word green tech a couple of times. Like, what is green tech? In your words, what would you say? What is green tech actually?
Yeah, well, I think you're hitting a difficult spot, because I don't think that there is a general definition of what is green tech, but the way that we define it at Sweden Sustaintech Venture Day is that there has to be a substantial environmental impact of the business. And the second part is the tech part, where tech actually in our interpretation also means innovation. So it doesn't have to be technology, but it has to be some kind of...
So green innovation rather than green tech then?
Yes.
Okay, good.
So it could be a material innovation, for example, or chemistry or something like that. It doesn't have to be an IP or a machine or, anything, something like that. But
can I challenge the word?
Bullshit.
If green tech is putting a label on a company calling it green tech, can that be greenwashing as well?
If you make the definition wide enough, absolutely, yes.
So there is a problem with people putting the label on. So how do you do because if we go back now to Sweden Sustaintech Venture Day, how do you pick up? Because tell us about the work, because you get a lot of people applying to be a part of this, or how does it work?
No, actually we don't. Actually, well, we get some companies applying, but I think by now many of them know that actually we make a selection.
Okay.
So I have a database that I continuously update with all the green tech, the innovative green tech companies in Sweden that we are actually tracking. So, and out of that, we are making a selection.
How many companies are on the list right now? About, approximately?
Between 150 and 200.
How many were there when you started?
Between 50 and 100.
Yeah. That is an amazing...
Development. Yes. The development in terms of number of companies, quality of innovation, turnover, companies going on the stock market, and actually companies succeeding while being on the stock market has completely transformed over the past 3 years. So it's an amazing category to follow. And it's fantastic to see that, the number of companies that I have to put on the list, as we have a minimum requirement of 5 million krona turnover, because we want to present companies that are that have actually proven their business model, or that are in I would say in a setting where it's highly likely that their business model will succeed. Because seed financing is, I would say, requires much more time. And it's nice to pitch, but from an investor perspective, growth capital is what we are looking for. And it's nice to see that there's such a large amount of companies that I have to list on,
I remember you even told me that this year you had to do an extra column because there were companies in a new range.
Yeah, actually, when we started, I had a huge problem finding companies, what we define as green tech companies with a turnover over 100 million Swedish krona. I think there were like 5. And now there are, I would say, 40, 50 companies with a turnover.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So would you say that Sweden is leading in this particular area?
Well, what you can say is that Sweden is number 2 in terms of innovation in general in the world. We are
amazing. A small little country as Sweden are supposed to be number 2. Wow.
But usually, the countries that are in the lead in terms of innovation are a number of small countries and also a number of large industrial countries like Germany and the UK, for example. We are a bit unique as a country.
I must say, I must agree, definitely. If we're trying to summarize this part of the conversation, so you're holding this day, but you're also working in investments generally with your portfolio. But what would your advice be to green tech companies out there? What do they need to focus on in order to succeed?
Oh, that's a very wide question. I would do like that.
Oh,
on that one.
Love it!
Yeah.
Thank you.
Can you be more specific?
So what would your advice be? We are a green tech company, Baseload Capital is a green tech company. I would say, what would your focus points be to us?
Can we be a little bit more general?
Oh, okay.
No, what I'm thinking is that there are so many, when you talk about success and you talk about green tech companies, well, it can be anything from, how do you finance, how do you grow, what is your business idea, blah, blah, blah. It's it could be almost anything. But if you talk about growth stage green tech companies, one thing that I see is that many mid-sized green tech companies, particularly the industrial ones, have a hard time with the sales part. Since many of them have a tech background or industrial background, they don't really have the contacts or the social the social network to find good salespeople or good marketing people. So a general advice would be to try to widen the areas of recruitment and really, if it's possible to get help to find, skilled salespeople, skilled marketing people, skilled people that are skilled in business strategy, actually to get more business saviness into a lot of these startups, I would say.
I think that's an amazing advice because as I've been going into different companies, I honestly can say that you're so spot on when you're going in and asking questions from a marketing or a sales perspective. It's often no, we deliver here. So we have a product. This is our focus. And this part is often left a little bit behind. So I can definitely see your point there. Very good. Interesting. Good. Thank you very much on these kind of topics. We have a segment here which is a bit personal, and I would like to test it a little bit with you.
Now it's time for conscious questions.
So if you would choose to answer one of these questions, what have you done for the planet this week? Or what is the most stupid action you have seen regarding the planet this week? Or what is your guilty pleasure that no one else knows when it comes to sustainability?
I'll answer the first one. What I've contributed with this week. Actually, I made a follow-up investment in one of my companies, a company which works on reducing deliveries or transportation.
Wow, that's good. That's a good one. Which one do you want me to answer?
The third one.
Ooh, my guilty pleasure that no one knows.
Yeah.
Okay, I must admit that I'm like Bill Gates. I eat the guilty pleasure fruit all year around, grapes and those things that are actually not, we should actually eat more according to how everything grows. But I'm a sucker for those grapes as well, so I eat them all year long. That's one of my guilty pleasures. There will be more. We try to talk about these subjects because we really think that the switch is about bigger picture. We talk about macro trends, but we should also talk about the micro trends and what we actually do ourselves in a sense. So what would be, if we just move on to that, I mean, what would your advice be to a private person out there? How can they be a part of the green tech agenda?
I would focus on the big things where you can make a big difference. Like what car you drive, how you heat your apartment or your house, your red meat consumption, and how you actually transport yourself. Like if you focus.
Good guys, we ate falafel today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, housing and construction is like the next big area. So. Put pressure on your housing association or apply for a green loan. If you, for example, if you're prepared to make investments in solar panels and things like that. I mean, these are areas where we can actually make a big difference. If you have some capital, I would invest it more towards green investment, green funds. And there are also ways to move your pension capital to green funds.
Good advice. Really good advice.
Now it's time for the disruptive questions.
It feels like many young people have lost faith in the current generation of political leaders and are questioning the traditional role of capitalism. Is there anything we can do to resolve this situation?
We need to show action. I mean, there's been so much talk. We can't only, make promises or put this question aside anymore. We have to act.
I found this really interesting article this morning. It says that young people are really feeling bad. It says that 3/4 of them are worried and have climate anxiety because of the crisis that we are in. But the older generation, less than 25%, have the same anxiety. What do you think about that fact?
One part of it might be awareness, that the young generation is so much more aware of the issues than the older generations. Another part might be how much influence you actually have and what decisions, what power you have in society, where older people might feel that they have more control and a greater possibility to influence their choices. It might also have to do with the fact that when you've lived longer, you've seen a lot of crises that has been resolved, and you count on that happening this time as well.
How would you say, do you think, or let me phrase the question, do you think that the people that can make a difference, do you think that they have this on their agenda?
No. Well, it's a very divided picture. There's a lot of really engaged people doing a lot of things, and then there are still a lot of people that are not doing enough.
What would you say to, let's say, yours and mine and the older generation? What would you say if you would give them an advice?
I think people are, of course, quite short-sighted when it comes to making difficult decisions. And I think when you talk about business and business leaders, but I would say the same thing would go for politicians. Nobody wants to be the person who actually presents a really, really difficult and bad path forward in terms of, short-term gain. Actually, difficult decisions, or decisions that are going to cost a lot of people a lot of money, or a company a lot of money, or votes if you're talking about a political party. So there is a resistance for taking big decisions and uncomfortable decisions. There is like a natural break in human behavior for actually being the person who stick their neck out and actually take that fight.
You are one of those people that stick your neck out, and
yeah, I do.
Yeah. How do you continue to? I mean, it must be also kind of. I mean, it takes a lot of energy. I know that from experience that if you're a person sticking your neck out, you can also be quite discomfort at some times, and you feel stressed or something. How do you handle that kind of balance between heart and head? Because you have so much heart in everything you do, but
I try to really pick my fights. I try to be rational about what I actually, where I actually argue, and I try to focus on the areas that make a big difference. When I had my first job at Procter & Gamble, and we were made to read a book called 7 Principles of Truly Successful People, like 1980s, 1990s management literature. And I only read the first 4 chapters. And after that, I thought, this will take me a lifetime to master just those first 4 principles. I think it was the 4th principle or the 3rd, saying work within your sphere of influence, which basically means that don't try to change things that you can't change. Work with the things that are within your sphere of influence. And that has been one of my mantras, actually, looking at, okay, where can I make a difference? What is my area of influence? What can I engage in that will actually give a tangible result? So I tend to keep that at the back of my mind, not taking fights that are unnecessary or where, the outcome is not going to actually result in any kind of tangible difference. So, long answer to a short question, but
a very wise answer, and I think that also something that we don't speak too much about either. So I think that this is a very good advice to all our listeners and watchers out there. So good, thank you.
Yeah.
I know that you have an eye out there who are doing good things on the market. Is there anyone that you would like to give like a shout out or our sunshine to?
Sunshine.
Yeah, actually, there are a few people that I would like to give some sunshine to. And I would like to mention Magnus Agerström of Cleantech Scandinavia, who's done a fantastic job and still is.
Very interesting to follow.
Yes,
yeah,
very much so. Magnus Rehn as well at Sting, who's been helping and championing so many green tech startups over the years, and, not getting a lot of recognition for that. I mean, he's probably self-motivated, but he's doing a fantastic job.
Maybe even that Sting is not getting enough.
No, Sting is not getting enough attention for all the fantastic work that they've done in terms of actually helping the whole startup community in Sweden. And then I would actually mention Peter Karlsson of Northvolt, exactly, because what he has done in terms of mounting a huge project, a little bit ahead of his time, I would say, in Europe. And actually managing to raise all the funding required and get that whole operation up and running. And now actually starting the research center in Västerås for battery technology is going to have a huge impact.
I think that's Sweden. A very good example of someone who figured out PR, media, sales, and also his product in a sense.
Yes.
It's a very good example.
Yeah.
Finishing up with it.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
I would really be curious, is there anything that you feel that you have on your heart that is not said, that needs to be said?
What I would like to send out is a huge salute and celebration to all entrepreneurs. Not only in the green tech area. Entrepreneurship is, it's a tough thing wherever you go. So
Here, here. I think that those will be our last famous words from you, Boel, and I'm very honored to have you here today. Thank you for the great work you're doing. You're really putting Sweden on the map and helping out to make sure that we do that in the rest of the world as well. So thank you for helping making the switch.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thanks.
In Sweden, we have a saying that you're making decisions with your heart and with your head. And I think that Boel is an excellent example of a person that really does that. And I think that her efforts has really made a difference. And I get inspired by not only what she has accomplished, but I think that we have some lessons to learn here about what fights to take to really make sure that you are focusing on what you can actually change and continuously do that. I also agree with Boel when she says that there are many entrepreneurs out there that need our praise. I think that what you guys are doing and what you are helping us to do is a big part of the switch, and I think that we should definitely give you applause, but also to give you the push and the encouragement and the help you need, because sticking your neck out is not always the easiest thing. So thank you everybody that sticks their neck out to do the switch. Thank you to all the listeners and viewers out there. Make sure to give us 5 stars and recommend this to a friend, to a family member, or maybe a colleague, so that we can together spread the word of the switch for a better planet.